Hey everybody, this is Perch. I still would like to get into supporting more independent comics, and I've talked about this for a while. But the challenge is, a lot of my videos are recorded and then wind up playing months later. So if I promote your comic, I have to just make sure it alters my workflow, which sounds kind of lame, pathetic, and I admit that. But on the other hand, this channel is a hobby. It's not an intention to make money. It's not intentional to do anything to change the world. So I'm kind of torn in between. I'd like to support more comics, but it is stupid to promote something. It's like, yeah, that campaign ended 3 months ago. I mean, you know what I mean? It makes it difficult. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna tag this one and see if I get to it earlier. And if I don't, my apologies to the comic creator. So if you send in little bits about your comic, I will read them like I do mails. I'll try and give a little bit of attention to it, and I don't care really who you are, what you're up to. If you got a comic and you're trying to, make the better place by putting out a story, let's try and get some attention to it. So, here we go. Here's a comic. And I'm right off the bat, I feel like I'm going to insult your name, because I'm not sure about the pronunciation, so I'm going to give it a try. I know I do a bit on the show where I intentionally mispronounce a lot of names of comic creators. I haven't done that in a long time, but I used to do that. And it was basically I was pronouncing names like I hear them show up in the comic shop, and it's kind of funny. And in some cases, you think this is how the name is, and then you meet the person like, holy shit, no. But this one is, I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. So the mail goes, hi, I'm Bishan Agha, a trans and Muslim comic creator. I'm excited to introduce Cobra Olympus, a trans and Muslim superhero who joins forces with diverse allies to battle monsters, robots, vampires. There's a PDF here. Our Kickstarter for issue number 2 launches on June 1st. I would love your help in spreading the word. Your support would mean the world to me and our community. So this mail is coming a little early. I will do my best to get this out before a lot of that goes down, but who knows? This comic, though, one thing about, if I'm promoting your comic, it helps to, know what it is, right? So people can go to it. So I think this is a Kickstarter. The comic here is Time Wars, The Adventures of Cobra Olympus, Cobra with a K. So Time Wars, The Adventures of Cobra Olympus. And there's a sample of the comic here. And it's got a combination of character building and fighting and action. So check it out. By the way, as some suggestion, you didn't ask for it, but I would suggest, based on your comic, I know you're doing the Kickstarter and everything else, but consider if you want to, you put this up on a web. This comic looks like it would lend itself to a web comic type format. I would at least suggest that you explore that a little bit. So anyway, Time Wars, The Adventures of Cobra Olympus with a K. So it is going up on Kickstarter for issue 2 here in June. So if you get a chance, and that you can at least go check it out. And thank you for watching the show, supporting the show. It's worth saying, because some of you will say in the comments, look, I want all comics. I don't want, whether it's a Muslim superhero, a trans superhero, whether it's a straight white superhero. I like having all these comics available. That's always been, the policy of my channel and everything else. I want all the variety out there. You as a customer then pick what you want. And it's very fair game to say, yeah, that doesn't appeal to me, but it's like, what is he? I don't have to agree with your opinion, but I will fight for your right to say it. It's kind of how this should be. It's better to have comics out there. And I also want to, credit somebody for, we see so much like we need to get diversity into our established comic characters, and people wind up doing mental gymnastics trying to figure out how to, create, which of the X-Men can they have be Muslim that was never Muslim before. I mean, just they wind up doing things that feel strange to the characters and the lore that's been already established. And so when you have comic creators like this guy here, who are, coming up with something new, it's new IP, it's new characters. This is a good way to introduce diverse heroes. It's new. That's the you're building something. I just think that's so much more powerful. Anyway, all right, we're gonna shift gears here. to a different character that will be kind of the crux of this video, this mail. It is For the Love of Cable. Okay, let's talk about Cable. It says, "What's up, Big Perch?" A few weeks ago, I was watching a Comic Tom 101 video, and they were talking about how the first appearance of Cable had recently went up due to the upcoming Deadpool Wolverine movie. I don't think Cable's in that, though. Anyway, they also mentioned how at one time Cable was the new hotness, and Deadpool's first appearance you could actually get at cover price. That's true. Cable was, I mean, you're talking early 90s. Cable was the big hero. Deadpool was like, meh. I mean, there was interest in the character because it was something new, and Rob Liefeld was drawing him in a kind of a dynamic way, and he was very much all in with the 90s design aesthetic and everything else. But Cable was the big guy that was selling comics, and Deadpool was kind of the other one that, of course, grew in popularity, and there you go. So it feels like people have forgotten that part, that at one point Cable was the main show and Deadpool was the sidekick to some extent. Anyway, back to mail. It says, "It's been so long ago, I almost forgot Cable was extremely popular at one time, and his earliest appearances were in high demand. At what point did Deadpool surpass Cable's popularity, and why Marvel faded Cable to the background, it seems?" I think that Deadpool, why Deadpool got more popular, I believe, is purely a result of the fact that, they were experimenting with humor and kind of that, wall-breaking humor that was popular in She-Hulk when John Byrne was doing it, but still it was She-Hulk, and, they didn't necessarily go all in. It was a relatively short series. So Deadpool came out, and it was like Spider-Man mixed with, meta commentary, and it was fairly new. And that combination just hit. It hit the market at a time where people were really interested in that, and it felt fresh, and so the character became very, very popular. Cable similarly faded. Well, I would argue Cable got popular for almost the exact same reasons. It was it was very much a 90s aesthetic. It was, gruff, and it's a soldier out of time, and there's a lot of mystery in the past, and they were trying to kind of reveal more of Wolverine's history and doing it somewhat poorly. So Cable was a little bit more mysterious. Where does he come from, and who are these brand new characters he's bringing with him? And yeah, there's a really hot artist that was drawing him. So I mean, you had a lot of elements there that made Cable popular. He's very much a product of the 90s. But as the 90s started to fade, it was he was much of his origin had been revealed at that point, and the people are getting tired of, pouches and shoulder pads and things that also felt like, overdone in the 90s. And so I think that's really what you got, is you have, the time itself kind of caught up to the character. And, there you go. I think Deadpool also, of course, had that 90s aesthetic, but it was a lot more for him, a product of the humor and the way he was written. And I think that's why it all happened. Now, you didn't ask it in the mail, but something that I think, it should go without saying is, why is Cable not popular now? Or why do they struggle with Cable now? And I think, quite frankly, I think Cable could be a very popular character. I think that there's still a lot of elements to him. I think the idea of a stoic, dystopian kind of soldier who is struggling to kind of find their way in the world. I mean, I think that there's a lot you can do with Cable that would be pretty exciting. And I think it fits, another new kind of popular thing that's going on in comics, which is that, dystopian future, and how, in kind of the idea of a wrecked environment. I think that's something that can be very popular if they do it right. And I mean, we're seeing it with video games. We're seeing it with all kinds of things where this aesthetic and this, this type of character can be very, very popular. But for whatever reason, what Marvel is doing instead with Cable is like, here's a teen version of him, and they seem to be embarrassed a little bit of writing the character, and so you get, Cable like, oh, let's make fun of the fact that he's old and gruff and that he is a product of the 90s, and we'll have characters just randomly come up and go, "Oh, shoulder pads. You're still in the show. You got a metal arm too. Oh, what do you, and one thing that I think was briefly popular, and you saw it a little bit with Deadpool, but you have to use it in moderation, and it's definitely no longer fun or popular now, is characters mocking other characters. Like, don't lean into the jokes. Like, if it's Justice League, you don't want like Wonder Woman shitting all over Aquaman for being like, "Oh, what are you able to do, fish man?" Like, don't take the jokes in the comic shop or the ripping on other characters and insert it into the comics. Having, a Marvel character, having Wolverine go, "Oh, 1990s called and wants the belt back," to Cable. It's like, number one, that doesn't sound like Wolverine. Number two, you gotta be cautious with the mocking and shit talking in the comic, because if you're not careful with it, it comes across like it's the writers who are frustrated and embarrassed at the character they're writing, and you make the reader feel stupid for buying the comic. And I think for whatever reason, Marvel seems to really want to go in on that. I think that from the fall of X, whatever, the tail end of the Krakoa era, they did that Children of the Vault series, and you had and it was a series that should have had a lot of premise. You've got the Children of the Vault, who are time aged in much faster than normal, so they're evolving quicker, and they're a mega threat because of it, up against Cable and Bishop, who travel through time and have their own way of kind of dealing with this. That should have been a really, really good comic. It had the right elements to be interesting. Instead, it was an overly convoluted plot. They did do too much of the Cable and Bishop cracking jokes at each other, and it was a waste. It was like, that was a gift. That whole plot, the premise, and everything else, and what you could do with it was something you could have really, you could have really made some money off of and done a pretty powerful story. And instead, it became a joke. And so I think, for whatever reason, Marvel they get characters they don't really know how to write or know what to do with, and they wreck them by, like this, making them a joke and writing them like a joke. So anyway, that's my take on it. What do you think? Cable, popular, not popular? Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to do. If you do get a chance, I'm sure that comic creator I mentioned earlier would love it if you'd check out their work. Look, even if you don't buy it, even if it's 100% not for you, go there and show the guys some support. They're reaching out to this channel and saying, "Hey, I made a comic." We could give that a thumbs up. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. Yeah, I sometimes I end the videos badly. I always try to get to the thanks for listening, but I don't set it up properly, and this is one of those times. So thanks for listening.